Hello and welcome to the news. I am Sergio Brete. Coming up this evening, as COVID-19 cases spike, our Gambians following the WHO measures that are put in place. Jaka Sisejete finds out later. Bamboo furniture designers on business and how their earth has evolved over the years. Our special guest on News Review today is one of the leaders of the Years Jotna group, Years Jotna. But first, we'll take a look at the newspapers. The Standard newspaper is reporting that 3 deaths, 112 new coronavirus cases reported in the Gambia, and of course IEC losing bidders threaten action against the Independent Electoral Commission. Suku Singate to clear speculations today, and President Barrow urges military to be patient. NPP Sankar alleges UDP's Usainu Dabo might be funding the Standard newspaper. Operation No Illegal Voting denounces the IEC, and Pura says it has no capacity to monitor megabytes and credit theft by operators. Let's take a look at some of these stories in detail. 3 people have died from COVID-related disease, while 112 new COVID cases have been reported in the Gambia. According to the last situational report issued last evening, the deaths and infections occurred between 8 to 11 February. Of the 3 deaths, 2 are men and a woman aged 60, 67 and 80. They all had comorbid conditions prior to manifesting symptoms similar to those of COVID-19, the report issued by the Ministry of Health stated. IEC contract losing bidders threaten action against the Commission. The Gambia Public Procurement Authority has endorsed the IEC decision to award a $3 million election material supply contract to Canadian company ESI. ESI emerged as the most qualified bidder. The GPPA evaluation team was said to have ruled. The company has been doing business with the IEC for many years and has supplied election materials to the Commission in the past election cycles. ESI won the first bid, but the GPPA said the tender process wasn't fairly done. Karim Khan takes over from Bensouda as ICC Chief Prosecutor. Criminal lawyer and human rights expert Karim Khan of the United Kingdom was elected on Friday to be the next prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC. He will take office on June 16, replacing prosecutor Fatou Bensouda of the Gambia. Suku to clear speculations today, according to the Standard newspaper. After the political hijinks of the weekend, many observers had reached the conclusion that the UDP executive member Abdoulaye Suku Singate has decamped to President Barrow's National People's Party. In fact, several UDP executive members told this paper that given all what happened over the midweek, Mr. Singate was a goner. Influential pro-UDP media personnel labeled him a betrayer and a wolf in sheep's clothing. But it appears the Suku roulette has not come to a stop and it is still spinning. This paper has reliably learned that Mr. Singate has reached out to some kingpins in the UDP over the weekend and has said he has not abandoned the United Democratic Party. We are not privy to the details of the conversations, but it is reported Mr. Singate blamed ill health for his inaccessibility to the party's members and no show at its meetings. The Standard has also learned that Mr. Singate has in fact met with the party leader Usainu Dabo at his home office. It is expected that a statement will be issued by either him or the party to clarify his position today. NPP Sankare alleges UDP's Usainu Dabo might be funding the Standard newspaper. An NPP militant, Usainu by Sankare, has said if Usainu Dabo is bankrolling the Standard, the newspaper better come to the realization that the veteran politician's dream of presiding over the affairs of the country will remain a pipe dream. Sankare has apparently taken offense in the Standard after the paper last week reported his maiden court appearance over charges of assault. He was arraigned at the Brikama Magistrates Court for allegedly assaulting his wife and causing her physical harm. President Barrow urges military to be patient. President Adama Barrow has assured the Gambian military of his government's unflinching support and urges them to remain patient and allow the smooth progress of the country's transformation process. Last year, the president promoted CDS Yankuba Drame, Deputy CDS Mamad Cham, Usman Gomez and Turo Jotna to the ranks of Lieutenant General, Major General and Brigadier General respectively. Addressing the nation's top 4 military officials on Friday as they received their ranks symbols at the State House, President Barrow said, I will steadfastly continue to support and encourage the armed and security forces to be vigilant, flexible and responsive to threats and adaptive to all circumstances within the confines of the law. Operation No Illegal Voting denounces IEC. A founding member of the advocacy movement, Operation No Illegal Voting, has dismissed claims that its members use the IEC logo in their voter sensitization engagement, accusing the electoral body of spreading lies. The IEC dispatched a press release last week in which it accused the group of impersonating as operating under the authority of the IEC. Pura says it has no capacity to monitor megabyte credit cheats by GSM operators following a barrage of consumer queries against exorbitant megabyte charges and credit deductions. The Gambia's Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, Pura, has admitted it lacks the digital tools to effectively oversee and regulate the practice of megabyte cheating by GSM operators in the Gambia. The authority made this disclosure before lawmakers yesterday as it presented its 2019 activity and financial statements for consideration and approval. That's it for the Standard newspaper. Let's take a look at The Point. The Point newspaper is reporting that Gambia Transport Union blames police for accidents. And of course, VP denies deportation agreement with Swiss authorities. Let's take a look at those two stories. Omar Cisse, president of the Gambia Transport Union, has blamed the Gambia Police Force for fatal accidents that occur in the country. Mr. Cisse said this is because the Gambia Police Force issues driving license to all kinds of individuals without subjecting them to test. Mr. Cisse, whose union is currently on a nationwide tour to discuss with stakeholders, all roads users, including security forces, governors and area councils, on their challenges as well as their input for the way forward, added that the Gambia Police Force only cares about the money they make with regard to the number of licenses they print and not the lives of the citizens of the Gambia. VP denies deportation agreement with Swiss government. The Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Toure, on Friday denied allegations that the Gambia government has signed a deportation agreement with Switzerland. The Vice President, who received her counterpart at her office at State House on Friday, added that this allegation is not true. With regards to her visit to Switzerland, VP Toure said, "My visit also triggered some misinformation at the time I went. I can remember the media carried so much information saying that we went to sign deportation for Gambians to return home, which is false." That's it for the newspapers. Let's go for a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And now, our Usman Jata visited a bamboo furniture designer along the Bartel Harding Highway who has been working with furnitures for the past 10 decades. More in this report.
People use furniture for different purposes. Some use it to store belongings, to sit or lie down, to walk, eat, play and socialize. Historians have revealed that early furniture consisted of padding to sit or sleep on. It was created to be mobile, that is, to move from place to place. However, in the 21st century, the furniture industry has evolved to another level.
I started this work since 2010. I was doing carpentry, but when I see that, this bamboo work is good for the industry, so I started doing this job. You understand? And definitely, I can say Alhamdulillah, because it's there supporting my family, sending my children to school. I see. Business is going when the season is open, actually. Only this corona make business to be down, because there is no business. When we have tourists, then we have business. But when no tourists, no business.
The importation of foreign furniture, coupled with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, is making business difficult for bamboo furniture designers.
Furniture in the Gambia is moving, really, but the problem is these second-hand things have already destroyed the country. You know, I was doing carpentry, but because of, you know, I see when I make any chair, for it to sell is very hard. If when customer come in, when you charge them, they will tell you that, oh, I have to go to the container. So I said, okay, in that case, let me just transfer it to this other one, because this one, as they are not buying our own, the white people come and buy our own. See, so that's why I decided to join this bamboo job. See, actually, it's good anyway.
However, with bamboo becoming popular in the country, the furniture designers do not only rely on tourists, they equally as well produce furniture for locals, guest houses and hotels. In order to carry his work carefully and professionally, Akano said he needs a better showroom and he is still looking forward to have many apprentices to work with. A tradition of craft developed in specific countries with specific artisans every time period creates new types of furniture for new types of collections and new ways of working and living. Bamboo furnitures can be found in chairs, beds, dining tables and interior and exterior pieces. Reporting for the Fatu Network News Review, Osman Jata.
Midsar and Tracy, from the top 8 finalists of the Be a Star Sierra Leone. Their lives changed from day one. New original songs. Be famous and successful. Be a star in the Gambia.
The biggest stage right now in Sierra Leone.
Being a part of Be a Star is going a step further in chasing my dreams and my career as an artist.
All you have to do is record a video of you singing your favorite song, not more than 2 minutes long. Send the video by WhatsApp to the following number, 2299944, using an AfriCell number. State your name and where you're from. Be a winner of a fully recorded album and $500,000. AfriCell Be a Star, your road to success.
Welcome back. And now the Gambia has recently seen a surge in COVID-19 cases, but how many are following the WHO guidelines to keep safe? Our Jakasi Sejaite tells us more.
It's close to 1 year since the Gambia recorded its first coronavirus case, and since then the country has recorded 4,414 confirmed cases, and out of that a total number of 138 recorded deaths. As advised by the WHO, some of the precautionary measures include wearing of face masks, washing of hands, avoiding social gatherings, and so on. But in recent days, there has been a huge change in the attitudes of people towards the pandemic, as people no longer adhere to these measures. The Fatu Network team visited the Serekunda market to gauge the opinions of people as to why the less consideration.
Xam nga nit ñi nekkul benn ñeneen gom nañ corona am na ñeneen gomul corona amul loolu mooy différence bi waaye man ne gom naa ne corona bi am na moo tax ma sol max bi ma aar suma bopp waaw loolu kese la.
lépp am nañu gom am nañu gomut loolu moo ko waral xam nga woon sa fekkoon tiital ni gars yi dañ tiital nit ñi kenn ku nekk xam na naka la parce que soo feebaree ku la wax sangul sa tar la buga waaw waaye nag fu mu nekk nii léegi nit ñi fekkee rek amul ragal kaay gars yi du gom wala feebaroo wala gis loo sa mbokk ku feebar doo mun a gom loolu yëpp loolu moo nekk alxaali waaw bu loolu kay feebar bu ñu feebar am na des nag ma gom wala keneen gom wala nga gom fekk gomuloo doo mun a gomuloo keneen soo gomuloo doo mun a gomuloo keneen foog nga gom nga mun a gomuloo keneen dajee si benn place loolu moom c'est fou de parce que doo xam feebar bi fii la nekk wala fële la nekk du ma la wax tey mun nga doxee nii sax nga am feebar wala feebar bi dab ma maa ngi dugg sama buntu kër feebar bi dab ma kenn xamul yàlla la xam léegi nag moytu rek waaw sagan nag tamit baaxul ba loolu ba affaire bi dab la moytul nga fagandiko moytul toujours nga fagandiko nga bàyyi sa xel bu lumul jotee sa mbokk wala keneen xalaatal de mun na la jot de waaw mun na la jot kon nag bàyyi xel rek
man dama de ñaan nit ñi ñen sol seen max bi am na njëriñ budul corona bi sax am na njëriñ parce que ngelaw bi lum de indi bari na moo mun na duga sa bakam bi mu jox la yeneen feebar waaw loolu moo tax man ma gis ne max bi am na njëriñ waaw.
With some believing that the virus exists, there are still others who believe that it doesn't.
li ma yaakaar moo di ne comme bu njëkk bi corona bi muy doog a ñëw nit ñi xamuñu ko woon diñ ko doon dégg rek ci réewu tubaab bi ñu ragaloon ko léegi nag boobu première vague bi la woon deuxième vague bi nag léegi nit ñi dañoo dem ba ñeme feebar bi te ñu bare bare dañoo yaakaar ne politique moo si rax ndax xam nga tey ñu wax lii suba ñu wax lii ñii ñu ne am na ñii ñu ne amul xaj na moo tax loolu moo tax nit ñi léegi comme niñ ko fonk woon léegi fonk duñ ko ndax boo jëlee 100 people 99 yëpp dañoo jàpp ni léegi affaire bi politique la 1% rek moo gëm ne corona am na ko xam ne loolu moo tax léegi nit ñi ragal duñ corona bi.
Honestly, dañoo war a takk masque waaye est-ce que ñun am nañ capacité pour takk masque because masque dañuy wax ne boo ko takk 3 hours wala 4 hours léegi su fekkee ku mel ni man nga xam ne su ma liggéey doxul mun naa xëy du ma am $100 nga bëgg may jënd masque anytime te yow joxuloo ma lu ma jëndee masque ba pare fii dafa tàng Afrique la nekkuñ si office si marché lañ nekk mënuloo ko booy takk masque always. soo war a wax da nga war a génne sa masque soo bëggee nooyi sax bu tàngee da ngay génne sa masque kon ñu mënuñoo takk masque always dañuy ñaan yàlla mi xam ne moo fi mën a jëlee feebar bi mu jëlee ñu waaye masque du masque moo ko fi jëlee.
man solo ma fekk masque de raxasuma tamit waaw comme nguur gi daal laay wax pour ñu xool politique bu ñu war a mën a jaar pour mën cee incarner nit ñi ba nit ñi mën a gëmal feebar bi.
ñoo xam ne gëmuñ ko xamul lu ñuy wax ne mooy feebar bi mooy soj ak saxar loolu ñun si liñ judd fekk ko ñun frescool si lañ màgg mënuñoo wàññi dara ñun mais bi feebar bi am na waaye am na ci yeneen côté yoo xam ne ñooñu def leen sonal ñun frescool mënuñoo rey parce que ñun africain lañ loolu miin nañ ko da ngaa judd sax nekk wan iya am frescool bu métti mais nga naan ngeeraan tàngal ay xob naan ko mu bàyyi tubaab bi nag moom mu nekk frescool dafa leen sonal wala corona dafa leen sonal ñun corona moom mënuñoo rey si gàttal waaw non est-ce que cancer li moo rey aidé et mons est-ce que corona mu ngi koo rey est-ce que accident li moo rey corona mu ngi koo rey accident li moo rey suñu tali yi accident li moo rey corona rey ko seconde li mooy xam nga ni feebar ba nga dem ci lopitaan bi tey ñaata nit ñoo feebar tëdd hôpital amul lu ñu fajoo nga bëgg a jàpp koo xam ne mu ngi dem liggéey nga ne ko kaay ñu fajoo da nga corona te mënuloo ki nekk ci lopitaan bi amul lu mu fajoo mënuloo koo faj force nañ dimbale suñu bopp.
As cases continue to increase as the days goes by, people are still advised to put on their face masks and stay safe. Reporting for the Fatu Network News Review, Jaka CCJT.
Tough Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. Tough Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Free. Tough Africa Global.
Welcome back, and now I am joined by our special guest on News Review today, one of the leaders of the proscribed 3 Years Jotna group, Years Dabo. Welcome to the Fatu Network, Years.
Thank you very much for having me.
Take us back to the history of 3 Years Jotna and why it was formed in the first place before we get into a discussion proper.
Okay, so obviously 3 Years Jotna, the whole 3 years came from the coalition and transitional agreement, or the coalition agreement of the 2016 coalition. This was the promise and the campaign pledge of the coalition 2016, that they were going to establish a transitional government for 3 years. Thereafter, they will hold presidential elections in which the candidate of the coalition will not be a participant in. That is the whole history of 3 years. And when we got to 3 years, then as citizens and concerned citizens of this country, we came together. We said we're going to protest because we believe that the president was going to negate on that promise or that pledge that he made to the Gambian people. And we thought that this was going to be the foundation of a more prosperous and a more suitable democracy for this country, in which, because the foundation was going to be, for the first time, we're going to have people or competing or vying for presidential position who none of them is going to be able to benefit from the from incumbency of presidency. That was something which we thought would create level playing field for the first time, and I believe that the Gambia deserves that start, you know. And unfortunately, just like the promise of the previous president, which was I was only going to serve a 2 years transitional government, the second president also said I'm going to serve 3 years transitional government, and unfortunately they both failed it. And we've seen what was the result of the failure of the first one, and we did not want that to happen for the second one. And unfortunately, we are now seeing signs that I believe are quite reminiscent of the first.
But this is a thing for African leaders. Did you believe President Barrow when he said he was going to stick to the agreement? Did you believe him?
We did. I did. I believed him. And I had no reason not to believe him. The man said he's not a politician, he is a businessman. And he also said, ala kulli hali, I am a man of my word. So if I give promises, I always fulfill them. I believed him. I did not know him that much to disbelieve whatever he was saying at the time. And obviously, this ushered in a government that which we've never heard before, in which so many political parties came together and chose a leader who had to resign from his political party and stood on an independent ticket and was supported by so many other political parties. So for me, I believe everyone else who was behind him at that time believed that he is a man of his words. That is the disappointment we all basically had to live with now, that he is not actually the man of his word. So
and in December 2019, you guys came out and said, we are going out to protest, to ask for his resignation. You applied for a permit and it was issued.
Yes.
Let's go back to some of the scenes that transpired on that day, and then we will come back.
Yes.
The Gambia will love.
Good morning, Inimbara. Chairman, ila kafo fele. Apela dembi alla protest onara finally. First of all, ibe how do you feel?
Dama sante yalla bu baax nga ala tentu baake nga ala jayi kato ne kumandiro ke moli dankoy la a manke ko itele katita tumando e ka mol kumandi minna wala katita bawo yemil kumandi itante wolti itante ye mol kumandi minna ini mol bele den tawol woto ni mol ye kumandi amanke itele katita yi kumandiro ko minna wala katita mbe Gambia dingol tentu la mbe jayla nge tentu minna yela hajo lonne yela nafa lonne say yela hajo lonne say Gambia dingol kunintale bi na Gambia dingol ye fayitandi Gambia la ye fayitandi dunyal
Chairman after this albina process ono dat la kata ka denden bridge walende par sa la fa menna do alla petition onyen ali yemum condition jelle landi ani mum condition sifalle se do man nim fono mole o
ani nga dajon kila ninkino mam udam kino mam mo buga dom
ha bari molbe kuma jamala fogan ko alla petition alla condition do menti wolam ko president o jiba on 19 namanji albe finza le kotake silokam wala be jeba
ah ya long ni so mum bin famo so ma de ni so fa pour ka fa kulio imanya no bunno suma na man na faso janni wala ro mo be balon mu jimune be petition
bara ta fono la
yes because we voted for him for 3 years, you know. Without that we are coming back, you know, on the 28th of January. In that we will never go back home until he resign. But from now to the 28th the 18th of January, there is a room for dialogue.
So you are giving him what someone would call borrowed time.
Yeah, one month. 1 month. This is our Gambia. We don't want any fitna in Gambia. So all what we want, the president to respect the MOU. That's why.
But President Barrow has made up his mind already. He is saying that his party would be registered by the end of this month. And by early next year, he would go ahead and launch his party.
No. That one, that's his own thinking. He is there because of Gambians. Gambians has to decide that, not President Barrow.
Yes.
Not him.
Welcome back. Youngs, you've seen the video.
I have not seen those videos for a while now, almost over a year. So
how does it feel looking back?
Well, that was a success story. That was history. It's a milestone in the Gambian history. It was the first time that an opposition political protest was able to attract that number of attendees or people who attended. I don't think any political protest had ever been able to attract that number. But that tells you the popularity of the call for the president to do the right thing at the time, to honor his pledge that he made to the Gambian people and enabled Gambia to be able to make that start a better start, I would say, for our democracy, for us to have an election in which one would say it has level playing field of, because all the parties, of all those who are going to be participating in it, none would have the advantage of incumbency to aid them.
And right after this came the arrest of the group.
Yes.
Which I want us to talk about because it seems even the Gambian people are divided over this. Some say they should not be arrested because that's an affront to our democracy and everything that we fought for in the past years. And others say, no, this is a violent group. They need to go. They need to be arrested. Do you believe that the government should have arrested you?
I obviously subscribe to the former's belief, and that is that this is an affront to our democracy. I mean, we don't deserve to be arrested. No one deserves to be arrested on that date. If anybody deserves to be arrested, it's the police themselves, because they have what they've done is, you see, what 3 years Jotna had been able to initiate or brought into this country at the time was that of peaceful manifestation of grievances. Shortly after we did, APRC was also bold enough to go out and protest. They were protesting for, you may not agree with their cause, and that was for Jammeh to return. But they were able to protest. They thought, you know what, we cannot sit with these grievances, we should be able to go and manifest it. Thereafter, victim center or victims group also went out and protest. We had 3 massive peaceful protests in this country. That was something that Gambians needed to take pride in. We've never had that in the last 22 years of the Jammeh dictatorship. That was to show the international community that Gambia is indeed embracing democratic values. But what we have shown on the 26th of January was that even though Gambia claims to have changed, its security system hasn't changed. It's still stuck in the past, in the dictatorship era of brute force to quell whatever and then to stifle dissent at all costs. And that's exactly what happened. That's why they used the dictatorial tactic of going after the leaders, lock them up. That would frighten their followers or the membership, and the membership wouldn't be able to do anything because the leaders are gone, and therefore you literally capitulate. It's like a snake. You cut the head off, the body doesn't function any longer. That's what happened.
And this case has been going to trial for quite a long time now. How would you describe the state's handling of this case?
Quite appalling. I would describe it as appalling and shocking. I think even to those of our ardent critics, they would subscribe to our view that what is happening now is persecution, not prosecution. I mean, whatever we did, we ensure that it was done within the confines of the law. That's why we went and sought for a permit, and we were given a permit. And before that, remember, we had a meeting with the police on the 17th. I believe it was, yes, it was the 17th, where we had a declaration made. They made a commitment to provide our security and our protection, to protect not just the leaders, but everyone else that turns up on that date. They made that commitment in that declaration, but they did it in bad faith. And that was the reason why they acted in ways that they did. And then because we were told beforehand that we were going to be arrested, that this was done in a meeting at the police HQ, that they were going to arrest us and they were going to put us behind bars as exactly as they did. That was just quite simply, if you ask me, a script from a dictator's playbook. And that's what they did. But I want to be able to inspire Gambians not to fear, and to also understand that peaceful protest is our right. It is in our constitution. It is provided there for a reason. If we have a cause to go out and protest, we should be able to do so, despite the fact that we have a security system that is still stuck in the past and only accustomed to tactics of dictatorship and tyrannical or barbaric brutality and unfortunate behaviors.
And fast forward to this past Wednesday.
Yes.
You appeared before the court again.
Yes.
And you were asked to go.
Indeed.
I'm going to say to go,
yes,
because it is important for people to clarify what exactly happened.
Yeah.
Was this an acquittal or a discharge? Because a person who has been acquitted cannot be rearrested,
yes,
on the case that he has been acquitted for. Mm-hmm. A discharge, however, mm-hmm, means that it doesn't bar the institution from fresh.
So this is just a continuation of what started from the 26th of January, mm-hmm, and that is the persecution of these people, simply because we did not want their dissent, we did not want their views, we did not want the views they expressed. You see, when we were first arrested, can you believe it, they brought charges like treason. They said we wanted to overthrow the government. Mm-hmm. Overthrow with what? We had no weapons. We had only the people who went out there on the 16th. So they ended up dropping those charges. They brought in all the charges that they knew if we leveled those against them at the magistrate courts, they are going to definitely go to mile 2, mm-hmm, and be at remand. So be remanded at mile 2. And they put those charges there simply for that, because when we went to the High Court, they came and dropped those charges. Mm-hmm. So they went with the other charges that they maintained throughout. And then we went to court. This is a trial that lasted for a year. Mm-hmm. And then the judge made it clear to them that I am not going to allow this court to participate in oppressing these people any longer. I want you to prepare your witnesses, and then we have this trial done and done. They decided they were coming with adjournment requests and a whole lot of. They decided not to turn up at all. They just wrote a letter telling the judge that we had 2 matters, one at Basse, one at High Court of Appeal, and therefore we don't have any lawyer at our disposal to attend to this hearing. We want you to adjourn it. And the judge was like, what I said before is what you are going against, and that is to use this court as a tool to oppress these people any longer. He foreclosed them, and he asked the defense to open their defense. The defense opened their defense, and they said we have no case to answer, because obviously the witnesses that turned up quite clearly made it clear to the court that they have not seen any of the 9 people in the dock of committing or participating or doing the things that they were charged or being alleged. And therefore, their understanding is that the only reason why they're there is because they're the leaders of those people who committed those, which goes against natural justice. You can't accuse someone of an offense that which he did not commit, but that of someone else's offense. So this has been the charge. This is what we've been prosecuted for. So the judge, in the end, they appealed against that. The appeal is at the Court of Appeal. We're even meant to go back to Court of Appeal on the 26th of February, mm-hmm, of this month. Now, what they did on that Wednesday, they did ask for the judge to have a stay of proceeding. He said, well, in a criminal proceedings, you don't get a stay of proceeding until you are granted leave at the Court of Appeal. In this case, that doesn't exist, so therefore, I'm not going to be able to stay proceedings. So therefore, you have to come and respond to this reply. They have a choice, they have an option. If the judge acquits and discharges, they can appeal against it to the Court of Appeal. But in this case, they just resorted back to the old tactics in the dictatorship, and that is, you file a nolle prosequi, that is, you cancel your prosecution with the hope. In fact, what happened here, from our understanding, is that they already filed new charges, the same charges, before the High Court, before they even withdrew the other one, which is quite simply an abuse of the process. Because yes, the prosecution has a right to withdraw whenever they want to, but you've got to do it in good faith. You've got to do it because you do not have a good case against the defendant, and then obviously you do not want to give the prosecution a bad publicity, because obviously the prosecution are not only representing the complainant here, they also represent the defendants. They have to make sure that justice prevails and then both are accorded fair hearing, because they represent the state. And in this case, what the prosecution did is quite simply to abuse that process, that provision of the law, that rights given to them, and just say, I'm going to restart it. So the problem with that is, if you abuse it in that way, even if we go to another trial with you, there is nothing to stop you from doing it again. Right. When you realize that you are losing and these people are going to be acquitted, then you withdraw, and then as soon as they walk out of the court, you rearrest them again and you take them to the cells. And that is so wrong, and that's why we are saying that that is very bad and it shouldn't continue. And quite obviously, I got really, really furious and mad about that and said a lot of things.
Which we will come to later before the end of this show. But you know what's interesting, Yangs, is the fact that your tone has quite changed from 2017 to 2020 to 2021. You know, following your Facebook postings before, which obviously people always, bring up when we talk about Years Jotna. What changed? This was not your initial position, that the president should resign after 3 years. In fact, to advise President Barrow to choose MOU over constitution is like advising him to kill for honor, because it's moral but not legal. President Barrow is doing great, loved and admired by his people. If he is forced to resign in 3 years, you know who to blame. Who?
Of course. So, you know who to blame, and that will be the president now, obviously. But, you see, I supported President Barrow from the beginning. I have no regret for doing so. I supported him because we have to get rid of a brutal dictator that was here. My understanding has always been that President Barrow was going to be a lot better than Yahya Jammeh. But if you ask me, to me, President Barrow is worse than Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh has never taken me to prison. President Barrow locked me up in prison for 30 days. President Barrow took me on a trial for almost a year, and then he withdrew the case. Then he brought it back the same day, barely minutes after withdrawing it. So Yahya Jammeh didn't do that to me, but Yahya Jammeh did that to so many people, and I fought against that. But my position has always been that this is a moral issue, not legal. If it was legal issue, we would have taken Barrow to court. We wouldn't even go to the streets. We would have mounted a legal challenge at the Supreme Court. That's why I'm saying is like asking him to, what was the word again?
Asking President Barrow to choose MOU over constitution is like advising him to kill for honor. Because
it's moral. It's a moral issue. So that's why we went out to protest, for him to see the numbers. The Gambian people that are coming out and saying, this is not only Yangs Dabo who has changed or shifted position here, but this is so many Gambians who voted for you and who are now saying, Mr. President, honor your pledge, honor your word, your own dignity. You see what I mean? And then obviously a lot has changed after that. Obviously the coalition is no longer there, and then I started beginning to fear that this man is just simply going to be another Jammeh. He's going to be interested in self-perpetuation. And obviously, if you ask Gambians in 2016 why they were voting for Barrow, I think the great majority of Gambians were fed up of having only 2 presidents in 50-something years of independence. They want change. And they want not only change in the leadership, but change in the length of time president serves in this country. They want a much more shorter term. So everybody was talking about 2 terms. That's why it was reflected in the new constitution. It reflected the views of the majority of Gambians. They wanted 2 terms, a term limit for presidents. We don't want them to be there forever. And unfortunately, what I feared becomes the reality. So people said you should not change, or when you change is wrong in politics. In politics, you cannot have a fixed position. You have to change. But that is different from making a pledge that which people voted for you. My positions were never voted. I did not benefit anything from them. I did not get a presidency because I said you should support President Barrow. I did not get any position that which you can say it's a position of trust. It did not exist. I was like a footballer who supports one team, and then if that team is doing too bad, you move to another team. It's very different to the position Barrow was having. So I think people need to be able to make that decision. A lot of us voted for Barrow in 2016 are probably not going to vote for him in 2020. And then a lot of us campaigned against Jammeh for the bad things that Jammeh was doing. And if we see Barrow doing those things, I think that's when we become hypocritical, if we refuse to criticize him for what we criticize Jammeh of doing. And one of the things we criticize Jammeh of not tolerating in his 22 years reign is that of dissent. It's that of allowing people to protest peacefully in the Gambia. The last time that happened was 2000. So many people are still bearing scars of that. They're still bearing or carrying the scars of that, the violence that was meted on them. I think that is something that which, if we criticize Jammeh of it, we should criticize Barrow, because there are many people that are still carrying the scars of the 26th January violence that was meted on peaceful protesters. They were peaceful protesters because we told them it was going to be peaceful, because we had a peaceful one before.
And after your rearrest, now we go back to that reaction video that you made that is all over social media.
Yes.
What was happening there?
I was very emotional, and my emotions took the better of me. It was out of my character. I said things that I am very much ashamed of. And quite frankly, I want to apologize to everybody, everyone who watched it, who had to be exposed to that. I didn't even realize that I said some of those things until when someone said, you really said this and that. I said, nah, I did not say that. He said, yes, you did. I said, no, I did not.
And that took the better of you.
He sent me the videos, and I looked at some of the things I said about, I said kangaroo court and judges, but that was taken out of context, and it was used against the honorable members of our judiciary and the bench. And I regret that profoundly. And I want to apologize to the judiciary, because I have high regards for them, and I have utmost respect for them too. And many of them can attest to that, because I have appeared before them during this period that I have been here. I've appeared before a lot of those honorable members of the bench. And they've been very, very, not just very nice, but they've been very helpful in assisting me to understand the rules and so many things. So I am really grateful to them. I want to say that the views expressed, and this is one thing I want to express, is that the views expressed in those rants of mine were not really true reflection of what I really believe and my opinion on things, especially with regards to the judiciary. I have high regards for them, and I have utmost respect for them too. So that I apologize to the judiciary, I apologize to the bar, I apologize to my party, the United Democratic Party, and all our supporters. I apologize to every Gambian who has any regards for me, and who doesn't have it, but who was exposed to that bad language. It was out of character. But I was really, it tells you the level of the stakes or the levels of my emotions at that moment, because I could not believe that that is what is happening in the New Gambia, that you would literally be asked to go home free as a free man by a court.
Only to be rearrested again.
Only to be rearrested, not when you get home, but at the
right
court.
There.
Yes, some of us were even arrested inside the court. That is just a violation of this, the sacredness of the courts. You know, you don't arrest people in the courts. That is wrong, and that's what they did.
So we have 3 years Jotna, and some people said out of nowhere came another group, 5 years Jotna. What do you make of them?
I only hope 5 years will protest when it is 5 years and Barrow doesn't want to step down. I only hope they will protest. But 5 years are quite simply, if you ask me, you see, we respect 5 years for the views they have. You cannot have a consensus on any subject, especially when you're talking about politics and then leadership of a country. The 5 years Jotuts are Gambians, and they have every reason to express their views peacefully. But the level of peace that was and security that was afforded to them was not what was given or afforded to us. We were brutalized on the 26th. We were tear gas. We were chased. Some of our people were seriously injured, and that is not right. Security officers or security members of this country should not discriminate. We are all Gambians. We cannot all share the same view on any particular subject. We are diverse, and we have diverse views on everything, religion and everything. Even God, we don't agree on God. We have others who follow all the religions in this country, but we still are tolerant enough to allow everyone to be able to exercise their religious beliefs. If we are tolerant enough to do so, why aren't we tolerant enough to allow people to protest, to be able to express their views about something so important as the promise or the pledge made by the president, which some people took his word for it and voted for him to be their president, and they want to be proud of him. But they cannot be proud of a man who is not a man of his own words. You certainly can never be proud of such a person. And I think that's what Barrow has done to many Gambians, and that's how many Gambians feel about him.
So I'm glad we mentioned the issue of security here, that they should not discriminate. And during the 3 years Jotna protest, we can see a senior advisor to the president, Henry Gomez, standing right there. I don't know if everyone knew, I don't know if every Gambian knew that he was present at the protest, but he was, because the Fatu Network cameras captured him, basically giving instructions to the security personnel.
To come out to, yes.
And then the 5 years Jotna protest, we also saw important members of cabinet take part in it.
Indeed.
What's your reaction to that?
It tells you that that was government sponsored. That's what African governments do, most of them, especially dictators. When people go out and confront them on tough questions, they create their own fake groups to pretend that these groups are just an outcast sort of people who are not conform to the wider views of the country. That's just a facade they like to present. The great majority of them, we believe, were paid, but we believe that some people went there, and maybe a great number went there because they subscribe to the view that the president should serve 5 years. And that is what the Constitution also said. But this is not our word. This is President Barrow's own word. He said he knew the Constitution was there. He knew that we elect the president for a 5-year term. But he still said he's going to serve 3 years. If he made that promise, those of us, we are all entitled to our opinions, and we can change our opinions anytime on any particular issue. And we said that this promise that you made, we want you to fulfill it. We want you to be bold enough and be a man of your own words. And this is a promise you made to Gambian people. Fulfill it, because the Gambia benefits, the Gambia gains from it. By now, we would have gotten another president with different ideas on how to tackle COVID-19, on how to improve our economy, on how to create youth employment. And a lot of our youths are languishing, they have no jobs because the president who promised to be there only 3 years, and I think President Barrow would have earned a lot of respect and a lot of money, in fact, from Mohammed Mo Farah Foundation if he had honored that promise. I thought, in fact, what happened is when we had that success story, I had Ugandan friends who I used to go out in, and we were literally in a similar struggle. They were struggling against Yoweri Museveni, we were struggling against Jammeh. And the big question they were asking us after December 1st was, how did you guys manage to do this? We said, we set a new model that which you all can follow, and hopefully you'll be able to get rid of your dictator. It would have succeeded in so many other countries, but what happened, our success story became our worst story, and now nobody wants to even think about the Gambian model. Let all opposition come together and pick one independent candidate against an incumbent dictator unable to defeat him in a peaceful electoral process. It's something that which nobody dares think about it, because that's a story that started in Gambia and ends there.
And before I let you go, even President Barrow has at some point responded to the 3 Years Jotna group. He stood before a crowd of people and said 3 years Tasna.
Yes.
What do you make of that statement when you heard it?
I think he was literally taking pride in his victory, but I don't know what it was the victory about, because he said, who said that a bag of salt is heavy? So that means the punishment he has meted on the 3 Years Jotna was something that he was literally boasting of, and that I think is very unfortunate. That is not something that which we expect him to say, because he took an oath to protect and defend the constitution of this country. That constitution said 3 Years Jotna, whatever the name is, whoever they are, as long as they are citizens of this land and live in this country, have every right to peaceful manifestation, to peaceful protest, to peaceful demonstration, whatever term used. And what he did was to violate that oath, that sacred oath he had taken on the 18th of February 2017, which he sworn on the Holy Quran to protect. He went against that, he violated that. So for him to come and then gloat about that and boast about it, I think that tells you his level of immaturity.
Finally, Yangs, what do you have to say to the Gambian people, especially the supporters of 3 Years Jotna?
I want to tell them that stay strong and be motivated and encouraged, and that you stood on the right side of history, and history will judge you favorably because of what you did on the 16th of December and 26th of December. And I want to once again apologize to everybody that took offense of what I said, or were disappointed, or were shocked and alarmed of my choice of words, inappropriate choice of words on that date. I want the Gambian people to still believe in peaceful protest in order to manifest our grievances. It's the best form of fighting a cause in a democracy. You don't resort to violence, you don't resort to anything, but stick to peaceful manifestation of grievances. It's better than holding grievances inside. That will eat you, that will burn you from inside. So that is my advice to every Gambian.
Thank you very much, Yangs, for coming through to the Fata Network News Review. Thank you very much, our viewers. That will be it for News Review today. Do join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.